In 1952, the town of Flatwoods, West Virginia would be attacked by a non-evolutionary creature. It was hard to find precise details, and there was deliberate obfuscation from the U.S. government. What is known is the creature had big red eyes, a silvery body, and could fly. It also killed 5 people, 3 of them children. Strangest of all was the fact it was seemingly impervious to the local sheriff's guns. While some claim the body of the so-called Flatwoods monster was metallic, most now believe this creature was the first of what would be later dubbed the Flying Terrors. The Flying Terrors were defined by several things. The first and most obvious ones were the attacks were by flying non-evolutionaries. The attacks were also usually restricted to small towns. Most of the sightings were in the United States, but there were others around the world. The duration of these attacks varied, as well as the types of non-evolutionaries encountered. Some were birdmen, others were more strange and eldritch. The owlmen were particularly pugnacious. Their appearance in North America was quite strange, for their alleged domain was originally the United Kingdom. One such creature attacked and killed several people outside of an abandoned ordnance works in Point Pleasant, known as TNT area. Another disquieting detail that defined the terrors was the seeming resilience of these creatures. Unlike other non-evolutionaries like Bigfoot, these creatures couldn't be killed. They could be temporarily injured, they could be captured, but they could never be put down for good. But it was when they didn't attack that soon became more frightening. Another creature, nicknamed Mothman by the locals, stalked the Silver Bridge of Ohio and West Virginia for the entirety of 1967. Rumors grew of missing pets, but there were no known human casualties. The Mothman fluttered around the bridge like a vulture waiting for its prey to die. When the bridge collapsed on December of 1967, dozens of people were dead. Some by the collapse, others fell prey to the monster's talons in the rubble. In the wake of the growing mass hysteria, President Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Non-Evolutionaries Pacification Act to create a task force to understand the nature of these non-evolutionaries and find ways to curb this menace. They would get their chance after the Vietnam War. There were non-evolutionary sightings in Vietnam, bat-like creatures. The locals named them Ahul, while the GIs called them night flyers. They were reviled by combatants on both sides. It was believed by US troops returning home that just like the other horrors they dealt with, they would be left behind them. But the servicemen soon found that their demons came home with them. Night flyer attacks sprang shortly after the war. NECPA, the Non-Evolutionary Creature Pacification Association, now went to work. Unfortunately, weapons to counter these new non-evolutionaries were still way too early in development, so the agents had to come up with something else. They discovered that the victims of these attacks were not usually the veteran in question, but his or her family, his loved ones and friends. Only after he had lost everything would the creature finally kill him. Many of these veterans were shook up from the stuff they had done and seen, even before the night flyers showed up. It was soon discovered that the more traumatized the veteran, the more likely they would encounter a night flyer. Therefore, if these soldiers could get rehabilitated and learn to live normal lives again, perhaps the night flyers would go away on their own. The result was great strides in the research of trauma-related disorders, with help from psychiatrists Ann Burgess and Linda Holstorm. The resultant study on these veterans led to the classification of PTSD. This marked a turning point in the Flying Terrors, and attacks started to decrease. But President Ronald Reagan was not satisfied with the efforts of NECPA. He demanded they find a way to kill these creatures, not just drive them away. Just change the direction of NECPA, and by 2000, at long last, a weapon was devised that could kill a non-evolutionary. A series of blades carved around harpy talons and other monstrous claws. The first of many weapons they would go on to create, and they would soon get their field test. And this culminated with the last attack of the Flying Terrors. In May of 2001, a lone harpy, agitated and starving, attacked the town of Phoenicia, New York. Another intercontinental visitor, the creature became known as the Beast of Benicia. NECPA agents were mobilized, eager to put their weapons to the test. Yet the person who would kill the beast would not be the agents, but a single mother named Lana Masulo. She claimed the creature had been stalking her son Jonathan for several nights. The last straw came when the monster kidnapped the boy. He barely managed to escape, but the harpy was not willing to give up its prize. After murdering 2 cops and several NECPA agents, the creature returned to Lana's home. The two brawled, and Lana was heavily injured. Her leg was mangled and she bled from several deep cuts. Yet she prevailed, and the Beast of Benicia was dead. The taloned blade plunged into the creature's black heart. No one knows how Lana got access to what was at the time a classified weapon, but NECPA agents had visited her home earlier that day, and it is suspected that one of these agents broke protocol and gave it to her. Lana became a celebrity, a local town hero, but she never viewed herself as either a hero or a monster slayer. When asked what was going through her head when she fought the beast, all she said was, "I was just trying to save my son."